this recorded.
No, but I have a reason. All right, we're going behind the scenes
Whoa.
because the Team VCA is planning an experiment. And so I'm going to turn this into content because that's part of what our experiment is about. Yeah, Jay, ignore the camera, pretend it's not here, and let's just keep going.
All right then. So coming in basically, how I usually start this out is by going through the milestone maker here. And so we said basically that our hypothesis, and Brianna is going to be doing her lovely typing for me, so I don't have to try and type and facilitate at the same time, which slows me down immensely, is that software
You don't need
companies.
to present. Just talk like we're the team. Ignore the recording.
Oh, shush. I was going to say this part anyway. Anyway, so the hypothesis is that software companies who serve our audience, essentially where we can find our audience and where we want to do these experiments or where we want to do audience shares with. Oh, she's yelling at the cat. Got it.
Sorry, I had to yell
I
at the
saw
cat.
off, so I figured
Yeah, off. Spencer, off. He was trying to get on the counter. Okay, continue.
Okay, so that's the hypothesis. The problem. So what is the basically dig in this a little bit more. I know we've been talking about, a lot about the problem in the sense of the solution and what we've been looking at as these solution options. But what is actually the problem here that we're trying to solve? What is this hypothesis actually all about?
So what I've just written here is that we need a new source of marketing qualified leads.
Yeah, you were on a different page than I was.
Oh, sorry. I went to the one.
It's fine. I've already moved.
Okay. You're like, it's the first experiment planner. Okay. All right.
Anyway, so we need a new source of marketing qualified leads. What else? Is it just that is my first question for you.
Of course my page scrolls.
And Rachel, feel free to chime in here too.
Yeah.
So part of the
is it
problem
just that we don't have enough marketing qualified leads? What is also causing us problems here?
Rachel had identified earlier the Rachel profile versus Bree profile in making connections. So the fact that Rachel's been trying to make connections, but she's just a person on Facebook as opposed to being me, who is actually the person that has the profile that gets instant trust when you click on it. So that's the problem we're trying to solve.
One other one that I recall is basically talking about that energy capacity piece around, right, the space and the ability to be able to do things like creating new trainings versus being responsive and just being part of the summit.
Yeah.
Right.
Another problem that we identified is Facebook's algorithm is making older strategies less viable. Things like the Facebook group strategy, even just posting on Facebook is not, it doesn't work the way it used to. But the idea of going live in someone's Facebook group is not really play anymore. More groups are dead than are live right now. And tough to find niche specific groups. That kind of speaks to that, Rachel. You had talked about that.
Right.
One thing I just want to drill into just really quickly here, Bree, you mentioned we need a new source of marketing qualified leads. So in your mind, is this what level, what channel is this? Is this generate? Is this identify? What are we looking at?
Just generate. Yeah. So for MQLs, it's generate, identify, but it's primarily generate.
Yeah. But what flags for me is, and just this is something to note as part of the process, is that I want to make sure that as we go through this, that we're making space to make sure that the generate is connected into our existing identifies.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got, for me, that's already there.
Yeah. But that's part of putting this down is to make sure it's not just in your head that's there.
Well, that's part of the outcome, right? Is making what else is impacted is connecting audience
Yeah.
handoffs.
And that's one of the things for me when I'm going through this, just kind of like what you're doing here, is I will sometimes fill in some of these other pieces as we go through,
Yeah.
because the things will come up as we do them.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think one thing, not to jump back, but that I
Yeah.
keep
Nope,
going
jump back.
to
That's where we want.
for our hypothesis is that it's not just companies that serve our audience already. It's companies that serve, and if they aren't already, should be serving
Mm,
our audience.
Mhm.
yeah. And this was actually not just with any companies. I realized I didn't put specifically, we're looking at software
Yeah, and it's
companies.
as Rachel was saying, it's not our audience, but it's actually our perfect participant.
Yeah.
Or what is commonly known as the avatar.
Yeah, that software companies that our clients use or could use.
Or should.
Could, you could,
Could, should, would.
should, or do use. Would or do use. Okay.
I think this is the autistic side of for us all coming out here.
Yeah.
Specificity.
Yeah.
Okay. I
Okay.
think that encompasses the problem fairly well.
Yeah.
Does anyone see any
Yeah.
gaps in there that we're missing articulating?
I feel like if we do, we'll catch it as we go through the next couple.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on then to the opportunity, what will make this worth it? This is basically what's the driver behind this? Why are we doing this in the end? What result, not what does success look like, but like what is this actually going to give us? How it's going to help the company? How is this going to help the team?
For me, better cash flow, both in terms of like clients, obviously, but not having to be as reliant on ads is a big cash flow thing right now.
Mhm. Recognizing, of course, that the cash flow being, and this is why it's not the outcome, it's the opportunity, because cash flow isn't going to be immediate from
Yeah.
solving this problem.
Yeah. That's that. Yeah. It's like the long tail.
Yeah. Anything
I
else
also
that would
think,
make this worth it?
I think there's also an opportunity to break through into a completely non-internet marketer saturated space.
Yeah.
Which I'm really interested in. And an alignment with that, I think there's an opportunity to decenter Bree as being the face of VCA, the sole face of VCA.
Mhm.
Again, to Rachel's point about the branding type of thing. I mean, for me, it's like, what are the obstacles? Well, the opportunities are a lot like the opposite of the opportunities.
And that also offers the opportunity to have, like you said, Jay come in and be a voice of authority. So it's not just the
Yeah.
Bree show, but a whole level of expertise that, especially because once people are in our audience, you both are a huge part of
Yeah.
what makes it so wonderful for them. So, and I think you kind of put in better business speak what I was thinking of. Just it's a new way to get in front of an audience that's not super saturated, and that puts us in front of probably a larger audience of
Yeah.
people, of users that
The
they
lack of
might have
saturation
something
is
they
so
don't even
exciting
know
to
they
me.
need. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's, for me, it's a bigger impact, right? Being able to reach more people. One of the biggest things in this whole process of having VCA for me that's been a driver, and this is kind of tied into our values, is to basically disrupt the online business industry and make it better, make it more equatable, make it less what's the word I'm looking for here?
I don't know.
Colonizery?
Colonial.
Colonial, that's the word. Thank you.
Yeah.
And less hierarchical. And so like that's breaking through into a completely non-IM saturated space gives us that opportunity to have a greater impact. And that's really exciting for me too.
Time check as well, because we need to
Yep.
be done in 20 minutes or less.
Yep.
So I know you want to be thorough here, but I think also we want to pick up the speed a
No,
little
I
bit.
think I think that's good. Basically, we've
Okay.
got, I think, a good space here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna, just as a note, I'm gonna change this into the non-paginated version just so we can see everything.
Oh,
But
yeah.
while I do that, outcome. So what does success look like? So this is about, like, if we prove the hypothesis, what's the end result actually going to be?
Well, and the important thing here is that it's not actually it's not things that are out of our control, right? So it's not booking
Yeah.
a certain number or whatever. It's what are we actually going to do? What actions are we committing to that will make this a hypothesis possible?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think this is where we have those explore the two angles of software company. So there's both the stuff we use and stuff clients could, should do, use. So I think success, like if we only do one of those, I don't know that basically this is like, what do we need to do to prove this hypothesis false? Like we need to try all the things, because if we don't try all the things, we haven't actually proven the hypothesis false. So what do we need to do to make sure that we've like given this the best chance to succeed? So I think we need to like explore both of those angles. What else? Jay, you're laughing. Why are you laughing? Are you laughing
I'm
at me?
laughing because you just took the facilitator role back over.
No, I was adding my thoughts and I was typing them as I go. Okay, fine.
It's
I
fine.
think it's also exploring the two new type of audience means of communication that we talked about with going through Instagram and LinkedIn to see. Like, it's kind of a secondary hypothesis, though, within the hypothesis. But
I'm
And that's
wondering,
more, go ahead.
I'm wondering if doing both might be too big for this experiment, but I feel like LinkedIn, in terms of LinkedIn for the purposes of the networking.
Yeah. I think you're onto something with the connection between them, Rachel. But this is one thing I tend to find with clients sometimes as well, is that it's really easy for us to kind of smooch together what actually is two different experiments. And I think Instagram in and of itself, like we talked about in our brainstorming, is actually more of its own experiment. It's a smaller experiment, but it's kind of more of its own experiment. And
Fair.
I think, like what Brianna was saying, using LinkedIn for this purpose in this way, I think makes sense.
Yeah.
So we can put that other one in the parking lot for later.
Yeah.
The
But
other
yeah,
one
I do think as part of like decentering Bree, and like if Rachel, we want you to be making some of these connections and that kind of thing, that's not going to be possible on Facebook. I just don't see that as being like, Facebook's not the vehicle for that, but LinkedIn can be.
Yeah. One thing in here for me, this is, again, with some of these outcomes, we can kind of articulate the boundaries of it, but we don't necessarily know the answer to it yet. But for me, kind of coming back to that limited capacity piece, and like we were talking about before in the brainstorming, about having, what's some of the best or the more popular trainings. Like basically for me, an outcome of this is that we have a understanding of some one or maybe two standard trainings plus doing like a panel or whatever, doing interviews, something more reactive. We have kind of set as our base.
Yeah, that we would then.
I have ideas on what that is, but I'm not sold on what actually that is.
I know what they should be, so that's pretty easy for me.
I guess what they should be too, but we can't know for sure until we test it.
Yeah. Well, I've been testing stuff for 10 years. I have a pretty good answer to that, but
you know what I mean.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
But
I think
yeah,
that's
so
probably
knowing what the standard trainings are. There was something else that I had. Oh, Bree is not delivering
everything.
everything. And everyone on the team is participating in the outcome. It's not a siloed effort. I think that's like when we kind of started off this conversation, that was one thing we said is like we've all been working on this independently and we want to be able to pool all of our genius together.
Part of that then for me kind of comes into is that we need to have some framework or some system in Notion to reflect and for the three of us to be able to utilize to collaborate on this.
To me, that's a separate project. That would be turning this into a process for the purpose of this experiment. We don't need to have it systematized.
This is where my ADHD kicks in and says, no, can't.
I actually would like to propose strengthening this though, with how my capacity is right now with everything. I would like to say Bree is only delivering though. I don't think that having me have to be involved in setting stuff up or doing some of the networking and the relationship building, I don't feel like that's yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. I had kind of had that in my mind anyway, but it's good to articulate. So thank you for pulling that up.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you're seeing, Rachel, that's possibly missing here? And again, we can come back and add in things because that will happen.
No, I think that looks good.
Okay. So then basically the next process to break this down into, as Brianne puts, chunks of work to be done. Let me ask, actually, this is something that we need to have the answer to first, though. Who owns this experiment? I have an idea.
It can't be me because I'm only responsible for delivery. We just made that a rule.
Yeah, I think it needs to be me.
Okay. Do you have the capacity for that?
To own it, yes. I won't be able to do all of it, but I can own it.
Okay.
My main reason for saying me rather than Rachel is mainly from a capacity standpoint, because Rachel, you do have a limited number of hours.
Yeah.
And there's just some decisions that I think probably will be easier made between me and then leveraging, like just conversing with Bree rather than trying to have a
back and forth,
yeah. And what's the word I'm looking for? Telephone tag.
Yeah.
For as much as Slack makes telephone tag obsolete, it still makes it telephone tag.
Yeah.
Okay. So
time check 5 minutes.
Yep. The big question I have here then is just kind of a sense of, from everyone's perspectives, what are some of these stages? What are some of the big chunks of, what are the milestones that need to happen? As Brianne puts, chunks of work. I like to think of these kind of like as like waypoints on a path to hiking. Brianne's just totally, so this is Brianne's operationalized brain
that
just goes and does this thing.
I'm gonna just go and start and do the thing, but y'all can tell me if I'm missing anything or if you want to change anything, but I'm just gonna like be brain dumping.
As soon as you started, I'm like, oh, this is perfect, because then my brain starts going through the process and going, oh, what about this? So
yeah,
that always works
That's
for
exactly
me.
It.
And the rule, of course, is that the final one is always review, reflect, and turn it into a process.
I think, shouldn't there be something between 3 or something before 3 that is to brainstorm the trainings or decide on the trainings? Because we're pitching trainings, but what training?
Yeah.
Do you already know what ones?
Well, I think for me, that's
to me, that would be like a sub point of this.
Yeah, okay. Exactly. It's a good thing to call out, but this is one of the things where sometimes the language is a little bit interesting. what'll end up happening, Rachel, is we'll decide who gets these things, and then whoever owns the milestones can flesh them out in conjunction with whoever is also doing the work within it. So like, just because I own the project doesn't mean I will own all of the milestones.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, like this one, for example, there's going to be some research. There might be like, setting up profiles. Right.
Same like in number 4 with build the trainings is about also making sure that that connection with the hand raiser connection exists
Yeah.
within the trainings, right?
Yeah.
Those kinds of things. Deliver trainings. A big piece for me actually in delivering trainings or slash building the trainings is also about the follow-up.
Follow
And
up
not just,
which?
and I was going to say, not just follow up with the clients, but follow up with the hosts or whatever we're going to call that, the person we're partnering with. Because like my goal with a lot of these pieces is to be able to create relationships where we do this as not just a one-off, but to come back to them multiple times.
Yeah.
And so we need to approach this from that perspective.
Yeah.
And that may be something actually that we even need to like think about a little bit in here, basically. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah. Some of this also is finish the audience handoff training, because
Yes.
there is a section on that about how to and repeat appearances.
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
Okay, I think this is a good start. Is there anything that anyone sees? I know Brianne's just been kind of filling in gaps if she sees them. Rachel, do you see any other gaps at the moment?
Like big steps that we're missing?
Nothing that's jumping out at me at the moment.
Okay, and that's fine. There may be things that come up as we go through, but I think this covers the big pieces, and we can
For
flesh out the rest of it. I know we're on a time crunch here, but really quickly, I'm not going to worry about the whens. We can circle back on that in a later conversation. But I want to kind of get a sense.
Of the owners.
Brianne, I don't really want you to own any of these.
I want to own this one.
Well, I was going to ask if you wanted to own it or if you just wanted to be part of it.
Oh. Depends. Do I get to make all the decisions? I know that's not what the ownership means. But
Nope,
I'm
that's
having
not what the
control.
ownership means.
The ownership is making sure that it gets done. Then
Yep.
I don't have to own anything. Yep. So I get my decision-making power.
We'll work on that at some point. Do you need to own it? Do you need to be able to, do you have the capacity to be able to make sure that that happens, or is it better for someone else to own it?
So I actually think this one,
you would be the person for, right?
I think number 4 I should own, Jay, just because historically I tend to drive when you and I should be sitting down and talking about something. And if I'm having to wait on you to say, like, I want to start on this, I will go up the wall. So me knowing me and the timings on which I do things. And then, yeah, Rachel, you're right. Like I'll still be no, Jay should be the owner of that one, because things like following up with the hosts, making sure that the trainings are tweaked. You can own it, even if I'm delivering. Yeah, I don't want to be. Don't make me.
No. Same as I don't want you to own 6.
Yeah, no, I don't want to own that either.
I should own 6. Rachel, do you feel that you should or could want to own any of 1, 2, or 3?
I mean, I can own anything you want because I know how to get the information from whoever. I just don't want to be like I said, like you said, with the limited hours. I don't want to be a barrier. I just want to be a help. So however you find that
Okay.
to work
So how
best,
about for now then, how about I keep the ownership
Okay.
and we'll leverage you just in the implementation of it.
That sounds
Um,
perfect.
The one that I was thinking that you might want to be owning as kind of like the most would maybe be the pitching one.
hmm Yep,
And
I
I
was
was
looking at
I
number
was
3.
actually thinking that number
Oh,
2
that one too.
is
Mhm.
you're going to be on LinkedIn and figuring out like how to use that platform and that kind of thing. That
That's
might
fair.
be,
Yep.
Yeah.
but again, it's implementation versus ownership. So who's the
Yeah.
one making sure it happens versus who's the one actually doing the thing?
hmm
Yeah.
Remote.
Yeah. So let's leave it with me then for now. And then part of the process is, what we can do, Rachel, is as we go through this, if you have questions about the ownership and what this kind of looks like and how this goes, you can talk with me about it. And then next time round, if you may feel more comfortable or wanting to have more ownership of some of the milestones.
Perfect.
Okay. And I know we are at time because Rachel, you need to get going.
And so do
I
I.
have
I
a,
need to have
I have
lunch.
a, oh yeah, well, we'll get that for you. I was
My
gonna say I have a
priorities.
couple more
I need
minutes.
food.
If,
I need food.
Yes, you need food.
But yeah, so here I put the owner's name first, and then like whoever is going to be the primary
support
implementer
people. Yeah.
supports. Because it is by whom, not just owned by whom on the thing. And I also just noted that the milestone is like there's 2 parts to this, right? There's making an initial list, but then there's also like what I don't want to see happen, and maybe this is an obstacle, is the tendency to like try and like do it all up front.
Mhm.
And then it not become an ongoing thing. Whereas it's like, if we're pitching 2 software companies a week, that's probably lots. We don't need to be doing like 100, have a list of 100 and then do them all in a week and then have nothing for the next several months.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure.
So I wanted to call that out because I did change that one big chunk of work
Sounds
there.
good. Okay, so I will take this and put it into Notion for us, so that we can have that as a project plan. And we'll work on some timelines, and go from there.
Sounds good.
Perfect.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.